Welcome to the Road to Missional Living podcast, where we ask the question, what is God doing through ordinary people to complete His extraordinary work? Each week, we will hear from normal people just like you that have taken a step of faith to follow where God is leading. We pray that their stories will inspire you to take a similar step and see what God will accomplish. Welcome to the Road to Missional Living podcast. I am Jason Yod, the local outreach and mercy director for Mitchell Road Presbyterian Church in Greenville, South Carolina, and I'm your host for this week's episode. My guests this week are from Bel Aire Community Partners, also here in Greenville. Shannon Weidman is the executive director, and Chrissy Maynard is the development and engagement manager. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Well,
Thanks for
thank
having
you for
us.
having us.
It's good to have you here. All right, so our listeners really want to know more about the people that we work with from our local outreach side of things at the church. So just you give me a little bit of idea about yourselves. Where did y'all grow up? Where did you come to faith in Jesus? And what did you envision yourself doing as a career?
My name is Shannon, and born and raised in Greenville, lived all over Greenville in some of the most roughest areas. And by the time I was 10, I had faced a lot of hardship that no 10-year-old should face. But throughout my life, God has always placed mentors in my life to help me overcome a lot of obstacles. Um, And I remember I met Jesus at the age of 9. My household was hard. I had drug, gun violence, like everything you can name it. So God was not a big topic in my household. But because of my grandma, she was my best friend. Like when I would go to her house, I craved to know Jesus like she did. So she was just somebody that I truly admire and lost her 2 years ago, but learned so much through her, but couldn't spend as much time with her. When you grow up in the outreach areas, there's always going to be a church van come out to get you. I didn't care which church van it was. It's like, hey, put me on the van. I'm going. Um, and I remember I was about 9 years old and just really having a hard time in my life, but also knew some of the wrong things that I was doing. And I had went to this church and they had asked me who would like to meet Jesus. And I remember it just like yesterday. My heart was so heavy when I walked in there. And after I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior, I walked out of there light. I walked out of there like motivated to withstand all the trials that I had to face. And I didn't know that's when it was going to get harder with me when I turned 10. So, but forever grateful for the outreach ministry that just kind of poured into my life while I was growing up. And by the time I was around 12, I decided, you know what, Lord, I want to live for you. And I remember there was like a talent show. And I was like, I want to be in a talent show. I can't sing. I can't dance. Like I could dance, but probably wouldn't be appropriate for church. And so my family had just been reunited after been separated for a very long time. And all I could think about is like how grateful I was. We didn't have any furniture, but I was grateful to be back with my mom and my brothers. But I was like, I want to be in this talent show. And I remember just talking to the Lord. I was like, Lord, I think I want to share the having faith the size of a mustard seed. And I had like a mentor sit down with me, help me write my sermon. And um, I was very shy too growing up, quiet and to myself. But I ended up being in a tie with someone else that decided to give a speech about the Lord. And so my love for God really started around 10 years old.
Well, what did you envision yourself doing as a career when you were like a teenager?
I started learning the importance of serving at the age of 15. And in this outreach ministry, I served in it for 15 years, giving up my Saturdays to pour into kids' lives that look like me. So by the time I graduated high school, I was like, you know what, God, I want to give back to the communities that I grew up in. I want to see more kids withstand the schemes of the enemies. I want to see them learn that it's not a learning disability that's going to stop them from graduating high school. I want them to know like they can do anything that they put their mind to because of who the Lord is that we serve. So by the time I was 18, I was set on that I was going to be working with kids. I was going to become a teacher. The path didn't end up the way I thought it was, but it ended up just like God wanted it to. So I had some struggles and stuff. But in college, my first year, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have my own daycare. Gonna teach kids how to read. I'm gonna teach them how to uh, know who the Lord is. And the route that I had to take was challenging, but I didn't know the doors that God was opening through those challenges.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Chrissy, tell us a little about yourself.
My role at Bel Air, I am the development and engagement manager. And so I'm still relatively new to the team. I've been doing this role for almost a year in April. So my day to day looks a lot like partnerships with local churches, local businesses. And then I also build a lot of relationships with donors and volunteers. So I'm a highly relational person. And so I love the kind of work that I get to do. I love being on the team at Bel Air. Yeah, I feel like my journey to get here has been long and the Lord's hand has just been over it. I actually grew up in Georgia, about an hour north of Atlanta, and I grew up in the church, grew up in a Christian home, and so ministry has been a part of my life from a really young age, and have always just wanted to have an authentic relationship with the Lord and to live out my faith. But throughout growing up, I faced just a lot of challenges around that in the environment and the culture that I grew up in. Other people's opinions and my reputation were really important to me, and I just kind of found myself idolizing those things, idolizing my own self-righteousness. And so even though I wanted an authentic relationship with the Lord, a lot of times I just kind of felt like my relationship with the Lord was performative. So yeah, I was doing all of the right Christian girl things, but my heart was just not in the right place. And I remember even at a young age, I was baptized at age 6. And around that age, I didn't even really fundamentally understand the gospel, or that it wasn't my works that got me into heaven. And so I can't really pinpoint a time where I came forward and accepted the Lord. But I think just slowly the Lord shifted my heart and just gave me an understanding of the gospel, because even once I understood, okay, I don't earn my salvation and faith. Salvation is a free gift from the Lord. It still took a long time, even once I believed that with my head, for it to become something that I believed with my heart. And so I just continued to serve, to be involved in church, but I just didn't have a very personal relationship with the Lord until a lot later. When I was a kid, I wanted to do every job that I could possibly think of. I've always been a multi-passionate person. I wanted to be an interior designer at one point, a graphic designer at one point. But I actually started to look at ministry a little more closely in college. I served for 4 summers at a Christian camp in Georgia. I found a lot of freedom and a lot of growth in my relationship with the Lord. Growing up, a lot of what I was learning was theology and facts about God, which is really important. It's really important that we know who the Lord is and his character, but there was less of a focus on, I felt, personal relationship with God, and the love that God has for us. And I just sat under a lot of teaching and worship, learning about the love that the Lord had for me. And I think that shifted a lot of things in my heart. And so part of why I became passionate about youth ministry is because of just the way that I grew up and my faith being and feeling very performative. I walked through hard things as a kid, especially in middle school and high school, and I just didn't have a lot of voices speaking into my life in the way that I needed it to be spoken into. And I didn't feel like my church was always a place that I felt comfortable being vulnerable. And so as I kind of saw the benefits of being in gospel community with other people at camp, I really wanted to become a voice in the lives of the next generation and to be able to share with them things that I needed to hear when I was their age and be someone who could listen to them and cheer them on. And so I initially wanted to do camp ministry. I ended up after college instead getting a job in elementary school fundraising. That's actually what brought me to Greenville. I graduated from UGA and then moved to Greenville for that job and just fell in love with Greenville. It is my favorite city I've ever lived in, and then discovered this position at Bel Aire and had never actually worked in ministry outside of camp, but just felt the Lord calling me to this position. And the past year has been really, really great.
That's awesome. It sounds like both of you didn't really struggle with the decision to go into full-time ministry. It's just something that the Lord was leading you to, and you just followed his path right into that. All right, so we've alluded now to what Bel Aire is. We've said the name several times, but Shannon, what is Bel Aire Community Partners? Tell us all about it.
Bel Aire Community Partners is a dream job to be at. It is a faith-based nonprofit organization located in the West Greenville area where a lot of kids face a lot of challenges. So they offer free after-school program and leadership development to students that are in the under-resourced community from K-5 to 12th grade. Um, and our core values are to help our kids grow spiritually, relationally, and education. And our mission is to know our families, to love our families, and to partner with them while giving their kids an opportunity to grow. And whether that is spiritual growth, relationship growth, and educational growth. And it started around 2010 with the summer program camp, just like a place for kids to come to learn about God and just be filled with a lot of love. And then the previous executive director decided in 2019, we got more that we can offer the kids in the community. And I'm forever grateful for her vision of that because I know the struggles I faced when I wanted to do good in school and lacked so many resources for that. So, and she started in 2019, all school year program. And I mean, our kids have been flourishing in so many ways because of the partnerships and the resources that Bel Air is offering them.
So, what makes the work at Bel Air unique in the community of Greenville?
What I feel like makes it unique, like I said, my background is early childhood. I was a preschool teacher for almost 10 years. So I would say what makes us unique is that our kids are not just growing in their education. Our kids are growing a closer relationship with the Lord. They are choosing to have their own relationship with the Lord. So I think that's what sets us apart from a lot of the other organizations that are offering similar things. Our constant prayer for them is for God's voice to be the loudest voice that they hear. They are
Mm.
hearing a lot of voices right now. And when you're facing so many challenges, it's hard to choose and decipher between all of these voices. But sometimes we're wondering, what do they do when they leave Bel Air? And we have other church partners and people that are connected with us getting involved in their school. And I got a story about one of the partners being in the school. And she said the kids got some free time to do whatever they wanted to because they finished their work. And she said there was a young man that pulled out his Bible and started reading it. And it's like, this is what makes Bel Air unique. And this young man faces some trials and he chose to read. And, she wanted to go over and talk to him. He just shared the story. Like, I've never heard anyone share the story of Cain and Abel like that. And she was curious. She wanted to know what church does this baby go to? And talking to him, he told her, I don't go to church. I go to Bel Air. So what makes Bel Air unique is that they get to meet God. And I think that is the most important thing for our kids as they're walking through so much in life, to know who they are leaning on and know who's there for them no matter what they're going through.
What a fantastic testimony to you guys. I loved that phrase. We want our voice to be louder than the other voices that are speaking into these kids at this time. So Chrissy, what about this ministry specifically resonated with you?
I would say so much about the ministry resonated with me from early on. Even just reading the job description just resonated with me and just fit a lot of my passions and gifts. So I think the role specifically resonated with me. And then the ministry itself was also, I could just see the impact from some of those early meetings. I think one of the things that has resonated with me the most about Bel Air is just its holistic approach. I love that we are able to support our students in so many different ways, educationally, relationally, and spiritually. Like Shannon mentioned, we are not only tutoring our students and helping them to improve in their education and giving them opportunities to gain access to different workshops and field trips and job tours. All of those things are great, but also we are caring for them spiritually. And just seeing the way that we are holistically getting to be a part of students' lives is really impactful. Our elementary program director, she is going to the local elementary school. She's a part of IEP meetings. She's sitting in on classrooms. Our teen director has been going to students' basketball games outside of work hours. And so it's not just a program that our students come to and they get to participate in. It is an authentic relationship and community. And also speaking to the community piece, I think something that has resonated deeply with me is the partnership with people that we have in the community and the teammates that we get to have in church partners like Mitchell Road and other churches that support us, in local businesses, in donors and volunteers. And we have incredible volunteers. A lot of them are from Mitchell Road who have been a part of our program for years. And I think that has just been really powerful and compelling to see people who want to show up for our students. And so just the passion that our people have for the ministry and for our students has been really compelling for me, both in my role and just personally in my own faith.
Yeah, that's the story that we really want to tell through this podcast is not to hold up super Christians that are doing full-time ministry like you two are, not to call you super Christians, but a lot of people can look at people who are doing full-time ministry and see that, right? And they can put that in their heads, but it's the volunteers. It's the person that has another career or they're a stay-at-home mom or whatever it is that they're doing, but they take one small step and it has changed their lives to this is what I'm doing living on mission. I am living missionally by serving these kids at Bel Air. Shannon, we can imagine what some of the challenges may be for you being in a low income neighborhood, but what are some challenges that maybe a listener doesn't realize comes with your work?
How important consistency is.
Mm.
These kids live challenging lives, but consistency creates a different kind of security for our students. We have some kids that's been in our program for 6 years, so I've watched them go from the elementary program, getting ready to enter into high school, and that consistency for the parents too. Our mission is to know and to love the families, and so given our parents that may have a kid that is sick where they spend every other week in the hospital and she's single and she's got to figure out what to do with the other kid. So our consistency gives her that security to know, hey, I don't have to leave the hospital and help my daughter with her homework. I already know Bel Air has handled that for me. I don't have to cry that I can't make it to my child's field trip. I already know Leah's gonna take care of that me for me. I think people don't realize how much that consistency is important and that same volunteer that shows up even when the kids might not have a good day. She's like, I'm still showing up. Um, it creates a different kind of security for our kids. And some of the other challenges that people might not know is, yes, we are sharing the gospel with our kids. Bel Air might be the only place that they're getting God's love at. And so when they grow that motivation to where they go to a camp for a week and they meet Jesus and they want to read their Bible on a 5 hour drive back home from that camp and they want to get saved 2 more times and let me know, hey, I did it twice, that is all cute. But then the same kid that is on the same level, what do they do when the only man that's been in their life dies?
Mhm.
And we don't have any guys on our team to help him deal with this. And so he walks away. So it's just like our job is to water these kids and pray that they will find God no matter which direction that they go to. So sometimes the challenge is watching a kid grow in so many ways and then hit a point where they drop out of high school because of so many challenges. So we can't meet all their needs, but we can create consistency in their life so it takes a whole village to
Yeah.
help these kids.
What about you, Chrissy? Any challenges that maybe our listeners don't realize come with your work?
Just to the development side, one of our greatest challenges, ministry is not always super glamorous, and it is about showing up faithfully and doing the work. And so I think an unexpected challenge for me has just been finding ways to clearly communicate the need for our operational budget to our different partners. We have so many operational needs, and we have to pay taxes and we have to keep the lights on and all of these things that aren't as exciting but are so needed for us to show up and faithfully do the work and serve our students. And so I would say that has been an unexpected challenge, just finding out how to clearly articulate that.
Yeah, that's a good word for our listeners to keep in mind when they are thinking about giving, that it's not glamorous to say, I paid the light bill for Bel Air this month, or
Mm.
I'm helping with payroll at Bel Air. But again, we then need to step back and say, what is the purpose of my giving? What am I trying to do? And is it to be on mission with God and make these things happen? You guys need your light bills paid. You need the gas bill paid. Um, you'll need gas to go in those vans, right? So it's a challenge, but it's good for our listeners to hear that. All right. Can you guys share stories of where you clearly saw God at work in your ministry?
Okay, I'll go first. Um, a couple different things. On the teen side, we have a student in our teen program who has been in our program for several years now. She started when she was younger and she's in ninth grade now. And she has just faced so many different challenges in life and so many different obstacles to her growth and her relationship with the Lord. But she is a student that we have just seen the Lord move so powerfully in her life. And she's someone who loves the Lord and is making a conscious choice to follow him and live, we're talking about on mission for God, even at a young age. And like Shannon said, our students are hearing a lot of different voices. I think teenagers specifically are hearing a lot of different voices from the enemy, from our current culture. And so it is really hard to cling to the truth of Scripture. But she is someone who we have heard about her sharing about the Lord at her high school, or in her middle school. And she is someone who is just willing to be bold and set apart, and not participate in things that her peers are participating in because she knows that they're not honoring to the Lord, even if that means counting the cost of what people think about her or what people say about her. And so that is just powerful to watch someone so young live so on fire for the Lord. And I remember Shannon was taking some young ladies to church and just was not sure how engaged they were actually going to be. But she looked over at the student and she was just having a moment of worship with the Lord and taking notes, and weeping in church, getting to connect with the Lord. And this student has actually started going with her younger sister to a local church and choosing to be a part of that. And so we've just seen a lot of growth in her life. She has a really awesome mentor right now, through our program, who has just shown up for her and been just a voice speaking into her life. And so it has just been cool to see this is something that the Lord is working in her heart. And it's just so evident that the Lord is moving in her heart and in her life. And that is just really encouraging to see.
Another story I would like to share is our junior in college. Our mission is to help students K-5 through 12. And we've been setting a goal, like we want to get more kids to school. We want to get them to school, to college. But it's like, we can't stop there because they are going to still face a lot of obstacles when they don't have the support that they need. But this junior that's in college, she's came back to be a summer intern for us. She checks on us and she faced obstacles. We have a lot of people on Mitchell Road team that are her mentors and helping her walk through life. And I actually had the opportunity to bring her to church last Sunday, and she hasn't found a church. She doesn't show the struggles that she faced. But one thing she has really been needing is a car, and she still keeps a positive attitude. So it just felt good to see God's provision through her need and to see someone give her a car after church Sunday. It's not about where you come from, it's about where you're going and who's going to be along your side along the way. But to see her receive that gift, with tears and joy, just shows her that your good work is not going unnoticed and God is going to always provide for you. That has been my latest story, that I've just been um, living in gratitude of what God will do in our students' lives.
Well, I know ministry's hard. I do it full time. You guys do it full time. How has this work really stretched your faith in God? And what are the things that you do personally to stay connected with God?
Ooh, you want to talk about stretch? Around this time last year, I was applying for the executive director job with fear, with anxiety, but truly feeling like God was calling me to apply for this job. I also had voices in my head. God's telling me that He's got me. The enemy's telling me, you ain't never going to be better than where you come from. You're not
Mhm.
smart enough. You're not good enough. You're not the person for the job. But I just had a lot of mentors just really pour into me and told me to trust God. And I remember hearing him so clearly tell me, I put you in these children's lives for them to see how I can elevate them no matter where they come from. And I remember being somewhere where I was just complaining in my head and just saying, I'm not the one for this job. And it's too much for me. It's too big for me. And somebody revealed to me through their story, God saying, is anything too big for me?
Huh.
And I walked on that and I applied for this job and I have been stretched. I am someone with an early childhood program, lacking so many experiences that the executive director need. Um, he hasn't failed in the last 9 months that I've been in this job. I've been learning a lot over the last year, but just grateful for the village and the support that we have along the way. And something I've been doing for years is because I can't do this job without God. I cannot. Um, but I wake up and I start my day with him. He gets his time first and I speak with him, and there's been a lot of tears that he has been collecting of mine along the way. But every day when I leave my house, I walk out with God's confidence, not my confidence, and knowing that he's going to do what is needed for this job. So,
It's good you start every morning with him and understand when you walk out that you're walking out on his strength, not your own. Thank you for that story. I love the passion you have for your work you do. What is a longer term impact to Greenville that you both ladies envision happening through Bel Air? What is the benefit to Greenville that Bel Air is here?
so one long-term impact I see is the dropout rates decreasing. And it was heavy when I was entering in it, but I can say we're already seeing more kids graduate from high school and some even taking the step to go to college, which that truly impacts Greenville. And through our other core value, like children just choosing to start their own personal relationship with God. Um, that will impact the decisions that our students made. And Chrissy, I already told you about one young lady that we have and how she's just on fire for God and doesn't care who doesn't like it or like it. And she's not ashamed of her Lord, and she'll let you know, to where we meet with donors and they're like, hey, she goes to school with my kids and they said she talk about God more than anybody. And the bigger impact too is just right now we're serving about 30 kids, 30 to 40 with our open court ministry. But a larger impact is helping more students, having that facility to give what we are giving now to 30 kids and doubling that number to about 60 students.
Well, you just alluded to it. So, what are some other dreams and goals that you have for Bel Air?
Caitlin started the all-year program in 2019. We've really built a relationship with the schools to where they know us by name, to where the social worker is calling us. We need a spot for this kid. They need y'all, and we have to turn them away. So one of our biggest threat is that we can't accept more kids because of the small camp house that has been a loving family house. But now we're seeing the impact that is happening with the students we currently have. And we're like, how can we double those numbers to help more kids the way that God is working in these kids' lives? So facilities, we worked on a strategic project to see what were the 4 priorities that we needed around 2 years, a year and a half ago, probably. And we're on that last strategic priority, and it was facilities. What do we do? If more kids need us, what are we going to do? But we've grown out of space. So we don't know if we're going to stay or if we're going to move somewhere. But we are sensing that a facility campaign is in our future. We're meeting a larger budget that Bel Air's never had, but also we could also be jumping into a campaign for new facilities.
Well, dream with me there. What would that facility look like? Your dream facility.
Dream. Chrissy and I both like to dream. Right now, you can tell we really love the kids that we serve because we don't have office space. We love creating a culture, like Chrissy said, like we have staff meetings where we all meet on Monday. We pray, dream together. But once the kids get there, all the rooms are being used to make sure they are growing in their education. First thing I think about is like we need office spaces where we can be there. You know, if someone that wants to be a potential donor stop by, they need to know our office hours of when we can be there. But also like thinking about the threat of our programs that have to stop because if it rains, we can't have our basketball ministry. So we've talked about having a multi-purpose indoor gym. We talked about doubling our numbers. So that means more rooms, more spaces. There are other resources out there. We partner with like an enhanced reading system where tutors really help our kids to grow in their education. And right now we tell them only one tutor can come. That's the only space we have. But if we had a space where we can get 4 tutors, that's 4 kids jumping levels in their education of reading.
I feel like the other big question for us right now is location. There's just been a lot of gentrification in our area. A lot of our families who used to be in walking distance have had to move out of their houses as they've just gotten sold. And so a huge question for us is the houses that we are running out of now. We have a lot of history in and we have a lot of memories in. So do we stay there? Do we move? Our students haven't moved very far. So if we did move, it would likely look like a few blocks away, closer to an apartment complex where a lot of them live. That's definitely something that we would love prayer for.
How can other churches and individuals partner or support with you?
We are always looking for volunteers. Mitchell Road is heavy on our team. Like Chrissy mentioned, prayers. One of our biggest needs on our ends of our positions is monthly support, donations of meeting an operational budget. So we always say jumping on our monthly support team, giving and being, generous to give to any part of our ministry, whether it's,
Mhm.
the paying a light bill, helping cover the insurance for the kids, paying for gas for us to get them back and forth to field trip. There's so many things that people don't see in the program that needs to be covered. We got some volunteers that have been on the team for almost 6 years. And my old church used to have this saying, like, can't be explained, only experienced. Once you get into Bel Air, the kids are going to keep you coming back. And so don't be scared to come out and just to see what we're about. You never know how God's going to use you.
Part of this podcast is to encourage and inspire people to jump into the extraordinary work that God's completing through ordinary people. And so even if people feel ordinary or unsure how God can use them, even if it's not with Bel Air, what advice would you give people who are thinking, God just can't use me? What encouragement would you give them?
My encouragement would be, if you jump into serving, share the favorite things that you like to do. You don't know if that gift that God has placed in you is exactly what an organization may need. And if you like reading, okay, help me with this. If you like sewing, let's do a project. So we all have spiritual gifts that God has given us, and don't be afraid to share them.
Yeah, I am really passionate about this question, and I love that it's a question y'all are asking. As I was kind of just prepping for this podcast, I wrote down part of a verse from 1 Thessalonians where Paul's like, make it your goal to live a quiet life. And I think it's important that a quiet life can still be a faithful life. And so the first thing I would say is, you can't really manufacture living on mission for the kingdom if you are not being filled up and inspired by the gospel. So I would say, first thing, if you're not captivated with Jesus, spend time with him and spend time becoming captivated with Jesus, because that will just naturally spill into all of the other areas of your life. And if you're not captivated with that, I would say ask yourself, why not? Someone at Mitchell Road would love to talk to you. So that's the first thing I would say. And then I think just following the example of Jesus, purpose and busyness are not the same thing. And so if we look at the ministry of Jesus, Jesus did a lot of ministry, a lot of miracles, but he also spent time resting and spending intentional time with the Father. And he had enough margin in his life that he was interruptible, and he took time to spend with people. And then I would also say, just notice your life. Notice the people that God has placed in your life, whether that is coworkers or neighbors or other families on your kids' soccer team. Notice what season of life you're in. For me, I am in a season of singleness, and so I have a lot of capacity right now to serve my friends and to serve the church in ways that I might not have if I was in a different season of life. Notice the gifts that God has given you, even in really ordinary ways. I think a lot of times when we think about ministry, we think about sacrifice, and we do have to count the cost of serving and of ministry, but also living on mission can be so joyful and so fun. And it is fun to creatively dream about how you can partner with the Lord in big ways, but also in really small ways in your everyday life.
All right, Chrissy Maynard, Shannon Weidman, this has been a pleasure to spend time with you both, learning more about you, but also about Bel Air. Thank you for the faithfulness that you have to those kids at Bel Air, and thank you for your time today. You have been listening to the Road to Missional Living podcast. The Road to Missional Living is a production of Mitchell Road Presbyterian Church in Greenville, South Carolina. We are a member of the Presbyterian Church in America, and we exist to know Christ and to make him known through gathering and forming equipped disciples.